I'm happy to be here today, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with all of you in Tennessee and elsewhere about smart homes for safety and functional independence. This is such a rapidly evolving consumer level uh, s- s- series of supports. And though these things are useful for all of us, we find them they can be enjoyable for all of us, make life easier for all of us. For people with disabilities, the tools we're talking about can be real game changers in providing opportunities to live more independently and safely in your home. When you see an ad for smart home tech, they use terms like home security or sometimes energy efficient usage. Those are the tags that get people interested. And they may mean one thing to those of us who are temporarily non-disabled and something entirely different to people who currently are experiencing disability. Home security is both protecting your home from intruders, the first meaning. And it can also mean protecting yourself in your home from things like falls, accidentally setting the house on fire, forgetting your medications. Efficient energy usage can mean conserving your own personal energy so you can get through your day. So it's important to consider these tools both as they're advertised and as they're powerful tools for those with disability as well. And that's what I'd like to talk about this morning. First thing I'd like to say, though, is there's so much and it changes constantly. Um, Trying to put together an hour-long talk around smart home technologies requires a lot of filtering. And the things I'm going to talk about today are the things that I've found people are most interested in my work. I do recommend, just as Dr. Friedman suggested earlier, if you get a chance to go to one of the show and tell in-person meetings where you can try out these tools, talk to the vendors, and see what's just hit the market. That's what I really recommend. That's how we the best experience you can have around learning the tools that are available for you. Just to get us started, I want to frame the idea of a smart home because I think the definition of a smart home has gotten fudged a little bit over the years. Um, the idea of a smart home has a fascinating history, really. The first modern smart home was probably the Home of Tomorrow, which was built by an architect named Richard Keck all the way back in 1933 for the Chicago World's Fair. It was a 12-sided glass box. You're looking at it. And it dazzled visitors because it had some amazing technologies. It had a garage door that opened with a push button. It had air conditioning, and it even had a thing called a dishwasher. By the way, that house is still standing. It's being renovated, and it will soon be available for rent on Airbnb. If you jump ahead to the 1960s, in the Jetsons TV show, that included a smart home that made meals at the push of a button. This was in the days before microwave ovens, by the way, and a robot maid named Rosie. By 1975, a lot of homes had air conditioning, dishwashers, automatic garage doors. The X10 company brought to the market an ingenious set of tools that allowed you to remote control your lights and any other electronic appliance that had an on-off switch. All were connected through the wiring inside your walls. Though the X10s can be glitchy, they're still on the market and they're a good option for people who do not have Wi-Fi. They proved a real boon for wheelchair users at the time. And if you note on this diagram, their model, a hub module linked to a remote control device that communicates to whatever device is going to be turned on and off. That is the same basic plan that all smart home technologies use today. And that brings us to the 1990s when Microsoft founder Bill Gates built his $50 million mansion in Seattle called Xanadu 2. The trick here was that you wore a Bluetooth necklace around your neck, and that necklace had been programmed with the kinds of things that you like. So as you walked through the house, the lighting, music, and even the paintings on the walls changed to fit your preferences. It seemed gee whiz sci-fi at the time, but many of the features available in Bill Gates' home back in the 1990s, 30 years later, are available at your local hardware store. In the 21st century, a number of universities have created experimental smart homes that are sort of cutting edge opportunities to look into ways that new technologies can be explored, used, researched, and eventually filtered down to the consumer. This is the Gator Tech Smart Home at the University of Florida. And like the Bill Gates home, it uses tracking tags that a person wears to alter the environment as you move through it. All of this experimentation has very quickly bled over into the consumer marketplace. As I'd said, most of the marketing today focuses on home security or energy conservation, conveniences for most of us. But for people with disability who want to live on their own, for people who wish to age in place, these conveniences can be life changers. I've been working in this area, as we'd said, for a couple of decades. My own focus has mostly been on consumer technologies to support people with cognitive behavioral challenges. And as an occupational therapist, I see smart homes through the lens of everyday functional performance. So when I think of using a smart home technology, I'm thinking of smart homes that are designed for easy access, security, comfort, and livability, that have ease of use features that support functional independence, that are individualized to your own needs and your own interest. And luckily, smart home features are becoming increasingly available and affordable for all of us. Thinking from a disability standpoint, smart homes can improve safety and security. They can assist you with mobility, transfers, access. They can automate routine appliance functions, allow remote control of home features using a variety of access tools and supports. They can provide communication tools to those on the outside of the home, including passive occupant monitoring that I want to talk about for a minute today. And they can assist with task support, shopping, bill paying, and social interaction. One of the strange benefits of the COVID pandemic has been that we've all learned how to live at home and communicate with the world outside and access things from the world outside. Those smart home technologies have bled over into the post-COVID world, and I think in a useful way. The people who can really benefit most from a smart home are people with mobility limitations, people with cognitive problems such as attention and memory deficits, people with medical care needs, those who are transitioning from supported living to independent living, or those who are at emerging risk of being placed in a nursing home, and really anyone motivated to increase their independence through assistive technology. By this definition, then every home really is an assistive technology, just like any car or any workplace might be considered an assistive technology. And thinking of your home in that sort of robotic way opens up opportunities to make adaptations that fit you and your needs more effectively. And that means low-tech tools like those shown here are just as smart as high-tech tools that are internet-based. These are the classic home access tools that insurance is likely to pay for. Grab bars at the toilet and bath, a tub bench, a wheelchair ramp, a 3-in-1 commode. And moving on to electronic devices, what might be called mid-tech tools. Again, most of the time when we think about assistive technology among people with mobility impairments, an elevator, a motorized wheelchair, a bidet, a bath lift, and a Hoyer lift, for instance. What I want to get to in this hour is a combination of the low tech, the mid tech, and the high tech smart tools, all of which can work together in a home to help people live more independently. Most of us think about smart home devices as the high tech stuff, anything that can be remote controlled by voice, by switch, or by tapping an app on your phone.
Volume
Nowadays,
set to 40%.
nowadays, any electronic device with an on-off switch can be connected in that way. An indoor-outdoor lighting, your thermostat, a doorbell camera and a smart lock, your window blinds and shades, a fan, a robot vacuum cleaner, any media player that you may have, a TV, a stereo, a radio. You can set reminders and alerts by voice or app control, and of course, you can call for help. Especially for people with mobility challenges or those who are easily fatigued, these tools can really be game changers. Please keep in mind that you don't need to be alone in solving the questions around smart home technologies and building a safe, supportive home. These are some of the specialists that you may want to seek out to help you both plan and find funding for your dwelling. An occupational therapist can help, especially those who may have a home modification certification from the AOTA. A certified aging in place specialist may help, and you can contact the National Association of Home Builders for those who may be available in your locality. There's another certification called the Certified Living in Place Professional Certification that may also be able to help you. And along with these professionals, you may want to talk to your home accessibility stores, your hardware stores, or electricians. When I go about evaluating assistive technology needs in the home, the things I look at are these. I like to do a collaborative interview and observation of a person's everyday tasks in the home, typically with the caregiver on hand as well to provide added input. The focus is going to be on skills the person has and their interest in living safely and effectively in their home, with a safety and functional independence as the key. One of the questions that I asked that may be a little unusual is I asked the caregiver, what tasks typically require nagging? And the reason I asked that question is that many people require nagging because they forget to do something important. They forget to take their medications, for instance. And you may be able to find an assistive technology that can help them do that so that the person no longer needs to do that as well. A second thing that can require nagging is when somebody has difficulty completing all the steps of a task. Like I just have difficulty figuring out all the many steps required to wash, dry, fold, and put away my clothes. You may have spent your life with someone standing at your elbow, cueing you to do all those things. And again, a technology may help you be able to do that on your own. Then I ask what problems recently have occurred in completing everyday activities at home. And the reason I ask these questions is I'm trying to figure out, is there a technology on the market that may help this person do this on their own so the caregiver can step away and the person can live more independently? And as I said, it's important to assess these things in the person's home environment if possible. This circle is sort of the kinds of answers I get when I talk to people, and I try to fit my responses into the gaps in between. For instance, at 10 o'clock on the left, I can do this task myself anytime. Need no help. I don't have to worry about it as a therapist. I can do it by myself sometimes. I can do it if technology helps me. So I already have a tool that can help me. I can do it if a person helps me. So I'm thinking maybe there's a technology that could take over the role of that person. And at the top, what I can't do, but I really wish I could do entirely by myself. That's the conversation we're having, and those are the kinds of answers we rotate around when we're problem solving solutions. a few tools that are available that may help you when you're thinking through these things as well. One is the supports intensity scale, typically used by professionals to determine what human supports are necessary to allow this person to live on their own. I've come up with a checklist of my own called a Smart Home Instrument New York, or Shiny, that comes out of a project that I'm working on with the state of New York. And I'm happy to share that with anyone who emails me. My email address is at the end of the talk. So if you'd like a copy of that, I'd be happy to share it with you. The gold standard is watching people do things in their home and seeing where the gaps lie. And finally, sitting down with the person who wants to live on their own, with the caregiver who wants to help them live on their own, and any other stakeholder who may be a vendor or someone else who may be involved in their care, and coming up with a list of strategies and tools to get started on helping the person live more independently. The Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation, PATFA, has a really nice short checklist that's available on their website. And I recommend you maybe start there to begin thinking about strategies to help you get along with that as well. And to summarize what I've just said over the last several slides, if you look at the things I'm talking about as sort of a step-by-step pyramid, the foundation of that pyramid are what I think is considered the most essential things. What are the things that will make you live safely at home and allow you to get into your home and access the tools in your home? Uh, Once you figured those things out, then I want to make sure that the person can reliably communicate with their support community, both back and forth. We look at task management supports so I can do the things I want to do on my own. And then at the top of that list, what makes your home comfortable? What makes it homey? What makes it fun? So let's talk about safety first. Low and mid-tech tools are key. For instance, a mid-tech coffee pot that remembers to turn itself off, a stove monitor moving to the left of the coffee pot that turns off the stove if that kitchen is unoccupied for some time. Those stove monitors, in my own therapy experience, have on two occasions saved two clients of mine from having their home accidentally catch on fire when they walked away from their cooking and forgot that they were cooking. Um, I'm a big fan of motion activated lighting, especially on stairways. Water leak alerts. At the bottom, the second item on the bottom from the left is a night light that doubles as a flashlight when the power goes out at home. Many people have difficulty managing fire extinguishers. I'm one of them. And a $10 aerosol fire extinguisher can often work really well. You just put out a pan fire on the stove. I also another item that may be helpful for people. There are such things as talking fire alarms, and what a talking fire alarm does, instead of beeping loudly and scaring you, it actually talks to you and tells you what to do if it detects smoke. Typically, those are the caregiver will record a tape recording in their own voice, saying what would happen when that goes off, and that recording plays back when smoke is detected. Those are some simple mid-tech strategies that can help some people, but one of the most important things that I always try to share when I'm having a talk like this is that everybody is different and everyone needs an individualized set of supports. An example I wanted to share with you here is I recently evaluated an apartment for a young man on the autism spectrum who was trying to live on his own for the very first time. His apartment has a gas stove, and his mom was not at all comfortable with the idea of a gas stove, of him trying to use a gas stove for all the obvious reasons. So rather than use a stove monitor like the one I just mentioned, we decided to turn the stove off entirely. We turned off the gas outside. and instead turned his oven top into an extra cutting space for, or an extra space, shelf space for his kitchen by putting this board that you can buy on Amazon on top of it. And then we also provided him a very simple to use microwave, which just has turn knobs so he can easily figure out how to use it, and a toaster oven exactly like the one he had already learned to use in his home with his parents. That's how he does his cooking now. One other thing we are helping him with, he's a little bit impulsive and moves quickly, so he was at risk for cutting himself when he was chopping things. We just got him one of those push down choppers and a finger guard for when he's using a knife. He's lived in this apartment now for a year, and all that's working well for him. He's cooking on his own and getting along with this customized, individualized strategy for adapting his kitchen. The truth is that the most important smart home feature that and I want to apologize, you may hear my dog barking in the background. I'm probably getting an Amazon delivery, so hang on, it'll stop. Um, my favorite smart home technology is the one that I hope many of you carry in your pocket, which is your smartphone. A smartphone not only can control your smart home technologies, but it can act as a true independence enabler in your life, not just for calls and video chat, but for person locator apps, setting reminders and task sequencing cues. In case of emergency information on your phone for first responders, in case something happens to you, being able to find your way around using the GPS maps and directions. As I mentioned, smart home activation via voice or touch through your phone. You can set up passive monitoring to your caregiver's phone, and you can add instructional videos. So smartphones are truly the key, in my mind, to smart solutions for independent living. And really, it would be great to sit down and talk for at least an hour about just what a phone can do to help you make your living at home more independent. Another thing you can do is set up what I like to do with some of my clients using your smartphone and using YouTube is to build a short instructional video that I save to YouTube. And then using the strategy that's listed here, you can create a QR code linked to your YouTube video. You print out the QR code, tape it over whatever task area the person may need is learning to do something. And when they get to that area, they hold up their phone to the QR code, the video pops open, and now you have just in time, right in place instruction for doing any complex task. A child might want to do that for learning how to brush their teeth. An adult trying to live on their own for the first time, using my previous example, might want to have instructions over their washing machine showing them how to set up their washing machine and dryer. It's a little complicated to set these things up, but once they're in place, they can really be terrific video modeling tools to help a person not only perform a complex task, but over time learn to do it on their own. So when we most of the time when we think about smart home technologies, though, we're thinking about the high-tech stuff, the appliance controls. So let's go there and chat about those tools. Keep in mind, we've talked about low-tech stuff, we talked about mid-tech stuff. Now we're going to talk about the internet and Wi-Fi enabled tools that are the ones that are most typically marketed for all of us in our homes. Once we've done this functional interview that I talked about already, and we're ready to talk about controlling appliances in the home, the questions I ask are, what do you want to control? What is the best switch based on your mobility? What is the best transmitting technology for your command? what technology is going to operate the device based on your command. And then we're going to look at this. Are you going to need a switch, an automated control, or a remote control device? And this goes all the way back to the X10 model that I talked about previously, where every high-tech smart home technology is going to require some kind of a base module that communicates between the tap, the voice-enabled device, or the switch that you're controlling, and the appliance that you're trying to operate. So let's look at first at the switch. Um, lots of different ways you can turn on and turn off a device remotely. If you're using smart home technologies on your phone, you can tap your phone on a particular app to turn a device on and off. You can talk to your phone using an Android phone or an Apple phone. You can talk to your phone through the app to turn the device on and off. If you're using a computer, you can set up an app on your computer to do all those things as well. Or you may just be using a remote module like typically we use for a TV, a remote control device. Many people with disabilities use different kinds of switches to access their computer or even to operate their wheelchair. And any of those switches can be also used to operate your smart home. A tax or proximity switch, head control, sip and puff, voice control. For someone who's completely locked in, eye gaze, communicating with their computer or their tablet on an app to their smart home devices. All of that is available to a person who's using any kind of switch. The challenge for the technologist then is to make sure that the switch they're already using to operate their computer is enabled so that it can also access their smart home tools. The most popular growing way to communicate with your smart home these days, of course, is by voice. The Apple Siri, Amazon Echo, the Google Nest Home, all of these tools are available from different companies that allow us to talk to our home and have it do the things that I'm talking about. There are challenges though, and a number of my clients have stopped using their voice control and gone back to tap switch control because of the challenges in using clear, concise commands in a quiet environment, relatively close to the microphone. If you're not able to do that all the time, if you're in a noisy environment, if it's hard for you to articulate a command, or if you're having difficulty getting to wherever you've placed your device sometimes, you can get frustrated. And unfortunately, one example I have is a person getting so frustrated that they turned their smart home device into a projectile. Uh, these are things to keep in mind. You can you want to make sure that if you want to use the device most effectively, that you label your appliance modules so you can tell the device to turn off the living room lights or turn off the dining room lights, and the device understands that. You can also set up triggered commands so that the entire house does something when it's time to go to bed at night and does something else when it's time to get up in the morning. The thermostat changes, the lights change, that sort of thing. That can be difficult, and sometimes you need someone with a little bit of tech savvy to learn to do that. I wanted to comment a little bit on a couple of the higher end voice-enabled assistants. The Echo Show 10 is the most expensive of the Amazon devices. And what's nice about that in some ways is that it is a video screen, so you can enable video chat with someone using it. The device's camera is always watching you, so it rotates on its base to track you as you're doing things. For instance, if you're cooking in the kitchen and you're using it for learning how to follow a menu, it will track you through the kitchen as you move from place to place. The Google Nest is another device that has a video screen. It's cheaper than the Amazon's device, but a feature that it does have that's kind of nice. If you set this up on your bedside table, it can be used to track your sleep quality if that's something that you're concerned about. And I bring this up because, as I mentioned before, you don't need a voice-enabled uh, tabletop device to communicate with your home. You can talk to your phone to do that if you have a smartphone. However, many people, and many of you on this call today may be like that, find that having a device sitting on their table that's willing to talk to them whenever you want to talk to it, that gives you cues when you need it, that allows you to communicate with your loved ones just by talking to it. Over time, becomes almost a kind of home companion, a friend in some ways. And having that device as your home companion can be a really important part of becoming comfortable with living on your own for the first time. So even though there may be a bit of copycat with using this device, and when you have a phone that can do this a similar thing, having it can be, I think, a really enabling piece of your smart home technologies. What I was talking about earlier, I wanted to talk a little bit about how to go about thinking about your interest and your needs at home, and how low-tech tools, electronic tools, and internet-based tools can work together to help you live more independently and safely. And I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that there are professionals in the community that can help you sort out those kinds of questions. Um, we talked about the components of the internet-based tools. So you have a switch, you have a module that talks to the switch, and from that module, a message is sent out to the device or appliance to turn it on or off or do whatever you've asked it to do. So the main thing we've talked about so far is the switch piece, which could be voice enabling, which could be a tap on a phone, which can be a remote control device. The next step in planning your smart home is identifying which of the many excuse me, which of the many transmission technologies your home will use. There is a new transmission protocol called Matter, Matter, that the tech companies are all beginning to follow. And that allows these radio wave based, Wi-Fi is a kind of radio wave, these Wi-Fi radio wave based models to communicate with each other. But we're not quite there yet. So you have to make sure that whatever suite of gadgets you're going to be using, that they all talk to each other. Ideally, that they all follow, have the same tags or logos on them when you purchase them. Apple, for instance, makes this pretty easy. If you go to the hardware store and look for a label on the box that says this, what it says in the middle of this slide, works with Apple HomeKit, then you know that if you are an Apple user, that device will communicate with all your other Apple products. And once you get the device, it's pretty straightforward. You simply take it home. There's a logo on it that you tap on with your phone. You add the accessory that gets added to your phone, and now your phone's talking to whatever the device was that you just bought. Samsung, which is an Android-based technology, similarly has a suite of gadgets that they call smart things that are guaranteed to work with this smart hub. So again, as with the X10 devices, you've got a switch, you've got a hub, and you've got the things you want to operate. There are many other companies on the market marketing smart technologies. I'm only using Apple and Samsung as examples. The trick, of course, as I said, is make sure that the technologies that you're using will talk to the other technologies that you're using. And by talking to someone at the hardware store, when you purchase these things, they should be able to help you sort that out. These things, it's hard to say whether they're expensive or not, because they're going to help you a lot. So is that expense affordable for you? For instance, if you get the app for your phone, which will be free, buy a hub, the communicating hub. You're controlling two lights and maybe an outlet module for a fan, maybe a movement sensor as well. We'll talk about why you might want to use one of those in a minute. Um, Under the Samsung, if you buy those as Samsung Smart things, that cost about $160. If you buy it using an old X10 device setup, that's $150. And if you buy it as an Apple HomeKit setup, it's $80. And the reason the Apple kit is cheaper is that you don't necessarily have to buy a hub if you already have an iPad or an Apple TV at home. If you don't have those things, then it's going to cost about the same as the smart things. One of the things that caregivers always ask me when their loved one is beginning to try to live on their own is, I really wish I could tell when they get up in the morning. I'd like to know if they're taking their meds. I'd like to make sure that they haven't fallen and can't get up. And the classic strategy for doing that is an unfortunate one, which was, let's just set up a video camera in their living room and we'll watch them do things. And of course, no one wants to be watched living in their own home. I've I've never worked with anyone who happily agreed to be videotaped while they're living in their own home. There are other ways that are much more passive and amenable to people's interest and needs, that I want to chat about for a few minutes, that I think can be the real decider for many caregivers about whether it's okay for their loved one to take a shot at living on their own. There are some companies on the market, one of them called Grand Care, for instance, that will allow you to set up a TV-based or tablet-based smart home solution that not only sets up reminders and games and opportunities to chat back and forth, but also puts in place activity monitors around the home that are not camera based, but that are activity triggered to give the caregiver uh, an awareness that this person is up and around, has taken their meds, has done the things that you hope they would do during the day. And if not, providing an alert either to the caregiver or to a 911 service that something has happened. Grand Care is the oldest of these in the US. Of course, there's several others out there as well. With their package, you get a tablet that allows communication and calendaring with an offsite caregiver, but it also sets up, as I mentioned, motion activated monitors in the house so the caregiver can be notified if something happens. A second company is Caregiver Solutions. They offer a similar suite, but instead of coming to your home to set it up, they send you a box full of occupant monitors that you set up yourself, along with a hub and a phone app that notifies you whenever a monitor is triggered. The Caregiver Smart Solutions is a cheaper product than the Grand Care version because they just send it to you in a box instead of sending someone to help you set it up. However, it's not that inexpensive, and it comes with a $59 a month subscription that can be a challenge for many people. Probably the cheapest of these caregiver monitoring systems is Gentry for seniors. And once again, these monitors are sent to you in a box along with instructions for how to set them up. You get an app that's on your phone. And as mentioned before, when these monitors are triggered during the day, you can get a notification saying that they've been triggered, or you can set them up so that you only get a notification within a certain window of time during the day. Let's say I don't want to get a reminder every time Johnny walks in and out of the living room. But I would like to know between 7 and 8 in the morning whether he got out of bed or not. That's so you can set up your app to get notifications only within those windows of time. Once again, the CenturyTel for Seniors Core Kit cost has a cost, and it has a $29 a month subscription fee to go with. What I'm looking for is a passive monitoring solution that doesn't come with a monthly fee, and you can set that up yourself actually. I want to talk about some strategies for doing that. If you have a smartwatch, either an Apple Watch or I'll show you the Android versions in a second, and a paired smartphone, you can set up a pretty comprehensive passive monitoring system on your own without the subscription. All of the info that the watch tracks, including location, activity, sleep quality, even your heart rate, can be shared with an offsite caregiver through their health apps. The Apple Watch versions 4 through 6 is my favorite of these tools because it has the most reliable falls detection device that's on the market. It links the user directly to 911 or to a caregiver whenever a hard fall is detected. The Google Pixel 2 and the Samsung Galaxy Watch versions 3 and beyond also have hard fall detection features and will alert offsite caregivers. Here's the Samsung Health app, which shows the information coming off the Samsung Watch that can be shared with a caregiver. And on the right is the Apple iPhone watch sharing that you can set up as well. I set up exactly this system with an elderly friend of mine named Ken, who lives in the Shenandoah Valley. His daughter, who is a professor at the University of North Carolina, wanted to be able to keep track of her dad and make sure he was safe because, as you can see from this photograph, he's an advanced woodworker. His home is on the right. He built that home himself about 40 years ago and has continued to work on it ever since. He's a wonderful guy with lots of skills. However, he's beginning to become forgetful. He's lost a finger by accident working in his shop over the years, and he has begun to fall from time to time. So the way she's tracking him is the way I just described. He wears an Apple Watch. And carries an iPhone. All of his information that's picked up on that Apple Watch gets shared to his daughter in North Carolina. So she knows her dad's up and around. She knows he hasn't fallen. She knows there's no emergency. And of course, he can just speak to his Apple Watch and talk to her as a phone call whenever he needs to. You can take that another step if you want to add motion activated sensors around the house, like the proprietary systems I mentioned before. What I want to do in Ken's case is to set up a door monitor on his bathroom door, so his daughter gets a notification when he wakes up in the morning and goes to the bathroom. There you can set up motion sensors around the house in different locations, so that caregivers get notified on their app that something's happening. I listed here some of the different sensors you can purchase. The Philips Hue motion sensor is $35. The SmartThings Arrival sensor is $16. What's nice about those is you can put them on a key ring, you can throw them in a glove compartment, you can put them in a backpack, so you get a notification when a person leaves home and comes back again. A HomeKit door sensor can be put on a front door, a back door, can be put on a medicine cabinet door. This one is $29. All of this information through the app gets shared to a caregiver. And these are some of the places you might want to set those sensors up. A motion sensor could look at any living space. I like to have one on my garage door as well because people in my home come in and out through the garage a lot. The arrival sensors, as I mentioned, could be on a key ring, on a vehicle or bicycle, in a backpack. And then doorway sensors could be on your front or back door, on a bathroom door, a medicine cabinet, or refrigerator. What you're trying to figure out, what you're trying to set up is a suite of sensors that allows you to get a window into how a person spends their time during the day. So you can keep track of them without videotaping them as they do things during the day. And what's cool about that, as I sort of mentioned before, is once you set the sensors up on your phone as a caregiver, you can decide when you want to get a notification from the sensor. So you're not getting tagged all day long by these sensors. You can say, I want to know what's going on in the morning. I want to know what's going on in the evening. And if the guy falls, I want to know about that too. And that can all be arranged setting up notifications on your phone. Um, you may, as I mentioned before, need to go to YouTube and look at instructional videos to figure out how to set all this up. But fortunately, there are comprehensive instructional videos for everything I've talked about so far today on YouTube if you don't have access to someone with tech savvy to help you work through it. And as I mentioned before, all of that is with no monthly subscription necessary. You sort of set it up on your own, and it works to my way of thinking as well as the subscription services do. There's an Amazon version of this as well. Um, Amazon offers a $5.99 a month emergency assist plan that sends notifications to a caregiver's phone anytime you interact with your voice assistant. The resident, the person living on their own, must have an Alexa device for this to work. Um, the emergency assist is monitoring the person's interactions with the Alexa, and that those interactions get tagged and sent to an app on the caregiver's phone so they can check during the day. Okay, mom asked about the weather at 12:22. Mom got cued about her routine activity at 7:03, so she's obviously up and around living her life. You can also, using emergency assist, call for help by talking to the Alexa device, and that's typically the reason people spend the $5.99 a month to go through this process. I was happy interested to see when you did your survey earlier, Mark, that many people are interested in smart doorbells and probably smart locks as well. Um, I like the idea of having them. One of the reasons a lot of people trying to live on their own for the first time want a remote camera doorbell is that they share the camera picture with their caregiver off-site. And if someone rings the doorbell, the caregiver can be a second set of eyes saying, yeah, that person's okay, you can let them in. Or we don't know that person, don't let them in. So so without being on site, you can still sort of keep an eye on who comes in and out. The one that most people get is, of course, the Ring doorbell, and the Ring doorbell is a great choice. The problem with the Ring doorbell is that in order to use it and record video and share that with your caregiver as a video recording, you have to pay a monthly fee. That's called Ring Protect. And many people have the money to do that, and that's fine. However, there's a really good non-subscription version that does all of that as well. I'm not paid by them to say this, by the way, but I love this device because of the zero subscription piece. Company's called Eufy, EUFY, and they offer both a smart doorbell with a camera and a smart door lock that can be operated by voice or by tapping your phone. And it costs that, what you're looking at, the app, the smart door lock, and the smart doorbell. I believe I checked this a couple days ago on Amazon. If you were to buy it on Amazon, the combination is $99, which is roughly the price of a Ring doorbell as well. But again, no subscription. if you're going to be doing this thing of remote occupant monitoring in the ways that I've talked about in the last several slides, there's some things that I really want to share with you that I've just learned through experience over the years. Remotely monitoring your loved one works great on a routine everyday day. But if there's an urgent emergency, they're not sufficient because you're not, are you going to be attending to your phone when something happens? How long does it take 911 to get to your door? How long does it take 911 to respond to an emergency call? Um, some people need some people need in-person caregiving, and there's no way around that. And if that's the case, then that's what you need to do. Um, because you need to know, is there someone to call in an emergency? Is someone going to be able to attend to the monitor? Are they going to be able to use the monitor if they're attending to it? Where are you going to place the monitors? And finally, another thing I always think about, you have to have a good conversation with the person who's being monitored about whether they're comfortable with having that happen. I've talked about some discrete ways of doing that many people are comfortable with. But again, the person who is living with being monitored is the ultimate director of whether that happens or not, just ethically speaking. I want to just mention briefly some of the what these things can cost when you add them all together. And I just put together a slide that looks at some of the ways that a person with mobility and maybe cognitive behavioral issues might want to set up their smart home. So let's say you have an iPhone or an iPad, and on it comes with the app that controls all your smart home devices called the Home app. If you have an Apple TV as well, then you can control all these devices when you're away from home as well as when you're at home. You might want to set up 3 sensors around the home so a caregiver can track you when you from off site. You may want to have your thermostat set up so it's remote controlled, as well as smoke alert and a carbon monoxide alarm. You've got two lights that turn on and off by voice control or by phone control. If you come in and out of your garage like we do, you can have a garage door opener. A lot of people who use wheelchairs use their garage to get in and out because typically that's the entrance into a person's home where there are no stairs. And then I just thought, what about a ceiling fan? Let's put that in as well. If you put all of those things together as a particular person's suite, um, the cost is going to be a little under $900. And with that $900, you can access the home through the garage. You're controlling 2 lights and appliances. You're auto managing the thermostat and fan either by the person living at home or off site. You can voice control your television and other media. You can broadcast smoke or carbon monoxide alerts to a loved one, and you can passively monitor activity in the home. All of those actions are based on triggers or scenes and can be managed while away from home via the Apple TV or the iPad that you have at home. You've all heard of AirTags for your house keys, your wallet, to keep track of someone outside the home. You can automate window blinds. Amazon is testing smart shopping carts. Uh, what I like to think about are other things that many things are coming on the market all the time. Uh, Automated bill paying, automated groceries, ordering, delivering, automated plant watering. Nearly everyone that I've worked with who uses a wheelchair or who has fatigue issues has gotten a Roomba or another robot vacuum cleaner, and everyone tends to love those. I have one client I've worked with recently who has difficulty managing the whole process of taking care of her cat. What you're looking at is a pet safe automatic litter box cleaner. And I have a friend who forgets to feed his dog. So you're looking on the right at a thing called the Pet Libro, which is an automated dog feeder. That said, the Internet of Things is exploding. And maybe in some ways they've gone too far. This is a $15 egg minder smart tray that tells you that you're out of eggs or that your eggs are old. I want to comment for a minute about a case study of a woman I've been working with recently. I've been working with her for about a year now, and I went back to see her last week just to check in and see how things are going with her. Kathy Lee is a middle-aged woman who lives on her own. She uses a standard wheelchair. She has a puppy, and she has not only a pain syndrome, but some emerging cognitive behavioral issues. She's become forgetful, and she has fallen several times. So these are the things I set up for Kathy. I used the Eufy system for her doorbell and smart lock. So when someone rings the doorbell, she sees on her phone who is there, and she can automatically open or close the door for them without having to roll her wheelchair all the way to the front door. She has an Echo Show in her living room and an Echo Dot in her bedroom. Both of those Amazon devices allow her to voice activate all of her smart home technologies. They allow her to manage her thermostat, manage her medication alarms, her appointment reminders, and she can video chat with her loved ones on the Echo Show. For falls detection, she has a Samsung Galaxy Watch 3. She has a Roomba vacuum cleaner, like I just mentioned, and she really loves it. Her dog loves it as well. He follows it around the house. And then from a low tech perspective, she has a toilet seat frame, a shower bench, and rails. There are a few other things that she's put in place to like make her life safer and more independent. But these are the key things that we've put together for her to help her manage on her own safely and independently. There are this idea of artificial intelligence is going to get added on to the smart home technologies I've been talking about today. Um, your smartphone is going to be not only tracking and sharing your location, it's going to begin to suggest activities for you to keep you active and engaged, linking you to the things in the community and other people in your life. That's going to be happening more and more as AI becomes part of smartphone apps. Your refrigerator will be generating orders from the grocery store. Your smartwatch will be encouraging you to exercise and sleep better. Your home assistant, your voice-enabled home assistant, will begin to observe your behavior and nag you about doing the things that it feels would let you be healthier and safer. And not only will your doctor's office maintain a portal that contains all of your medical information, but it will receive notifications about your diet, your exercise, your medication adherence, and your physiological condition from all the monitors that are tracking you at your home and automatically generate health guidance back to you as part of your medical service through your doctor. I mentioned Rosie the robot from the Jetson TV show at the very beginning of this talk, and I just wanted to comment on a couple robots that are sort of in beta stage now. Amazon has a device called the Amazon Astro, which is sort of like an Amazon Alexa on wheels. It has a camera that watches you and allows the device to follow you around the house, find you when you call it, and talk to you, asking you questions during the day, as well as responding to your questions. Right now, it's available only by invitation. The cost is expensive. It's a $1,600 device, but Amazon's hoping to put it on the market for all after it's sort of beta tested the safety of using this. One of the real concerns for someone with this device is that people trip over it because it sneaks up on you, and they're trying to figure out how to make this device safer for all of us. A second company, this is a French company named Blue Frog Robotics, has put together is selling a device called Buddy. It's an emotive robot. It has a face screen that changes its mood as it's talking to you. It's usually happy, but in engaging with you, Buddy asks you questions about how you're doing during the day, what you're up to, what you'd like to do, and it gives you cues and tracks basically how you're feeling and what you'd like to get done during the day. It's designed to be a not human but human-like companion that understands you better than your other appliances do. There are a number of things that smart homes still can't do. They can't take out your trash. They can't draw you a bath. They can't dust and mop. They can't wash and dry your clothes. They can't walk your dog or do your homework. And most importantly, they don't fix themselves when they break. There isn't even, after all these years, a TV remote control that really is universal. And these are some of the other weaknesses. I'm trying to wrap up here quickly, Mark. I'll be done in a minute. Um, these are the things that concern me the most because it's important to recognize that there's troubleshooting and upkeep involved in using any smart home technology. And when you're using an assistive technology like this, it's important to have someone on your team who can be on call to help solve problems when they happen. The so some of the problems that can happen are the power goes out, the batteries die, the software updates, the products you've bought don't talk to each other. Maybe your Wi-Fi goes out or you don't have Wi-Fi, so you can't get some of these devices. You have to find someone who knows how to install them and will take the time to not only install them, but teach you how to use them. And as I said, provide follow along when something happens. That's in my experience the most difficult part of using these tools. And before you even take the step towards moving down this path, make sure there's someone involved who's going to be able to understand solving the problems that I've just listed on this slide. I'm sure the team in Tennessee can help with funding options and support around this. Some of the supports are Medicare has a restricted list of available durable medical equipment that must be prescribed by a health professional. Medicaid waiver programs can provide assistive technology in many cases. Assistive technology lending libraries allow you to try things out before you decide you want them and spend the money to get them. Rebuilding Together is a volunteer organization that can adapt homes for people and often engages you with smart home strategies. And you can go to service clubs looking for AT, Lions clubs, Rotary, churches, and other nonprofit funders. I'm gonna stop there, Mark. I think we're at the end of our chat. I want to just say happy smart homing and give you my email address and my texting phone number. If you like the Shiny assessment tool that I mentioned before, email me and I'll send it to you. Or if you have a question about your own personal situation, let me know. I've recently retired from VCU and I have more time than I used to. So thank you all, and I'm open to questions.